Hello Year 5, and this is your flipped classroom on playscripts. This week in English, we are going to be focusing on how to punctuate a playscript for writing and how to read and act out a playscript. So our first piece of punctuation that we're going to be learning about this week is a colon. What is a colon? A colon is a type of punctuation mark. It is a sophisticated punctuation mark that you can use in a range of different sentences, but for our focus, we're going to be using it in our playscript. You can use it to introduce an explanation, to separate independent clauses, to introduce an example, to introduce a list in a sentence, and before direct speech. You will go on to use colons in more detail when you go into Year 6 next year. But for the purpose of this flipped classroom and us in Year 5, we're going to be focusing on this last bullet point, using it before direct speech. So I'm going to give you some sentence examples. I have two hobbies, dancing and swimming. So here we're giving our context and then we are listing following the colon. Unfortunately, flying fish have many predators within the water: dolphins, tuna, squid, and marlin. So here, following our colon, we have a list of different types of predators. In Year 6, you're going to go on to writing some sentences using colons. This is what we're focusing on this week. Mick, parenthesis, wiggling his hips, I want to be a dancer. This type of sentence would be seen in a playscript. So when we read a playscript, we don't read the character's name out loud and we don't say the parenthesis out loud. This is to tell us who is speaking and its instructions or stage directions telling the actors what to do. So we would simply read silently in our head, follow the instruction, I want to be a dancer. So this is what we're focusing on next week. We are learning, why are we learning about colons? Well, in order for us to write good quality playscripts in Year 5, we need to know where to put colons. So here's an example here. Have a look at this sentence. Queen of Hearts, this is the character. A colon always follows the name in a playscript, so the character. So Queen of Hearts, and she's going to say, guards, get her, off with her head, off with her head. So we've got lots of different punctuation here. We've got capital letters for proper nouns. We've got capital letter here. We've got exclamation marks. And we've got, of course, most importantly, our colon, our new focus punctuation. So in a script, the name of the character who is speaking goes on the left-hand side and it's followed by a colon. After the colon, we have the dialogue. So that's what's being said by the character. Usually when we write speech, we use inverted commas, our 66 and our 99. In a playscript, it's different. Instead of having inverted commas at the beginning and at the end of our speech, we have a colon, and this indicates for the actor when it's their turn to speak. So you do not need to use inverted commas in a playscript. Here is one of our example playscripts that we're going to be looking at this week. This is from our focus text that Shakespeare has written, A Midsummer Night's Dream. So I'd like you to read through this part of a playscript. Have a look at the characters. At the beginning of a playscript, you would have the character names listed and it would usually tell you who they are. I've skipped that bit for us because we've already looked at that last week. So we've got Theseus, Hippolyta, Aegeus, Hermia, Lysander, Demetrius, and these are our characters in this part of our play. So this is Act 1, Scene 1, so the very beginning of our play. I'd like you, please, to practice reading out this part of A Midsummer Night's Dream. So when you're reading, remember the section on the left, this is telling us who's speaking. So we've got our character name with our capital letter for proper noun, following with a colon. Then we have the speech. Remember to speak clearly and to speak confidently. You need to use your voice in different ways to emphasize the point for each line or each speech. You might want to change the volume, the tone, the speed, or the expression of your voice to emphasize what's being said. For example, if a character is very cross, you may want to raise your voice, or you might want to change your tone to being quite stern. If a character is quite shy, you might want to soften your voice and quieten your voice to suit your character. Try to get into character by changing your body language to suit them. For example, you might want to move quickly or slowly. You might want to stick your chest out, or you might want to hunch over, depending on the character you are playing. We've been reading this text in class, A Midsummer Night's Dream, and we've been learning all about these characters. I wonder if you can remember anything about these characters. What can you tell me about Hermia? Very good. So, when you read this, I'd like you to read it with your families. Can you then have a go at acting out the scene with your family in role? So you can choose who you'd like to be, and then you can have another family member playing a different role. Remember, if we see parenthesis or information that does not have a character's name ahead of it, that's extra information. You need to pay attention to that without reading it out loud. So, for example, we have here, enter Theseus and his bride-to-be, Hippolyta. We're not going to say that out loud because that doesn't lend anything to the play. But a director might say that to instruct the actors or actresses what to do. Theseus and his bride need to follow these instructions. So just before these two characters begin their dialogue together, they need to enter on the stage. Then Theseus will say, "My beautiful Hippolyta, our wedding day is coming close. I wish time would speed up." She's going to respond. So you want to have eye contact with the person that you're talking to. However, you want to be aware of your audience. So remember, we've been learning not to have our backs facing the audience because they won't be able to understand what's going on. It's important to project your voice so that your audience can hear you. Choose a suitable facial expression for your character. If your character is very unhappy, you're not going to be going like this, are you? So choose what face is appropriate for your dialogue, please. And you might like to do some actions to help the audience to understand what's happening in the text. We learned this when we were doing our text map last week. So if there are words, for example, love, you might want to place your hands over your heart. You might want to have royal, so royal. So you can indicate royal with a crown. So choose actions to go with your play script and have fun with it, acting it out with your families. We're going to look at this text when we come to school next week. So it would be really good if you've practiced finding out where the colons are and finding out which parts to read and which parts not to read aloud. Let's have a little look. Do we read bows to Theseus out loud? No, we don't. Can you tell me why we don't read that? Well done. We don't read bows to Theseus out loud. This is parenthesis. This is our extra information that is given for our actors and actresses to tell them what to do. We don't need this character saying this out loud. The audience don't need to know, they want to see it. So this character has to bow. Okay, I hope you have enjoyed your flipped classroom. Really have fun with it, and I'll see you next week. Thank you. Bye-bye.